Two teenagers, a boy and a girl, were attacked by bees in Uganda for stealing a cow. In retaliation, the owner of the cow, also a farmer, consulted a native doctor or say, some bees master over his stolen cow. The bees master then sent bees after the thieves, and in no time, they returned the cow. And as surprising as that already sounds, can you believe the bees never hurt those two? They only swarmed the right arms of the two teenagers. It has since become a noticeable mark in the community that once you spotted a person's right arm swarmed by bees, that he was most definitely a thief. This bees master is perceived to harness the power to control bees. He goes by the name Adil Samuel on TikTok, and on his page you will find more stories. This story has got a lot of people talking, but it is one that has divided opinions. Believers think this is purely an example of the African voodoo magic, and that this was possible. Doubters, like myself, also think this is just a social media stunt, and we have substantial reasons to think so. Let us get into it. Something amiss with narrator's account of theft. From the video of the story we just told, the narrator attempts to explain how the two teenagers stole the cow. He seemingly confirms that the two were seen in the act. I struggle to really understand that part to bits, but the whole idea of stealing a cow is actually too much to swallow for me. How exactly did they elope with it? A cow of that humongous size and those two teenagers, not to even talk of the fact that they were seen attempting the robbery. Maybe they loosened its rope and guarded it hurriedly out of the owner's home to theirs, because the idea of, say, loading it onto a truck does not seem viable for me. But for what it is worth, I want to cut our narrator some slack here. It is a local town, and clearly, he did not have command over the English language. Perhaps he was trying to say the thieves stole the cow at everyone's blind side, and that it was after the bees did their thing that they got the confession of how the robbery ensued. Fair enough, let us give him that. But this narrative would create even more problems. We would follow through with the question, how exactly did the Juju priest know that those two were responsible for the robbery? Are they now trying to tell us that this Juju priest could not only control bees, but also he has the power to know things? It gets more suspicious from here. We understand that this was a common practice in some East African countries, the use of bees to detect thieves and retrieve stolen items. It feels like bees and their masters are the real MVPs in the fight against robbery in that part of the world, and we commend all of them for that. However, just how real is all this? We all may have heard a thing or two about African voodoo magic and how some native doctors possess the power of spiritual healing. Some could allegedly even withhold and release rain, and this, in my opinion, is just like any of those stories. Just hearsays. Why do I say so? Well, back to our story. I already mentioned that the bees could not harm the thieves. If there is one thing we know about bees aside from producing honey, is that they love to sting things, people. But these ones used in the fight against thieves are as harmless as toothless bulldogs. Now this may quickly score some more points for our bees master and his believers. I mean, a swarm of bees are supposed to be deadly, but here they are not, which means our bees master really controls them. So straightforward, right? Well, I think that it is actually the opposite, because if the bees could really not sting people, then they would make for an excellent marketing tool. Let me explain further. It is all a marketing tool. From our video, we know the bees harmlessly swarmed the right arms of purported thieves, right? I think the first feeling that comes with seeing the video is one of disgust. I bet you did feel the same too. And so, supposing that our purported thieves really stole the cow, they would be forced into a confession not out of fear for their lives, but out of disgust. It is like wanting to get rid of something that plagued you. Now, with fear never in the equation, who really would not consider an offer to pull a few harmless stunts for the camera and also for some little paycheck? Surely not many would turn down the opportunity. The internet, in this 21st century, continues to unearth and empower creatives and innovators from across the world. You could build a huge following on any of the popular social media accounts like Facebook, Instagram, or even TikTok, like this our bees master, and see your fortunes grow substantially. This bees master, for instance, imagine the number of people who would search him up and reach out for help once this story breaks out. There is also that publicity and popularity that comes with people just talking about him. That is his business booming right there, because he surely would not perform his tricks for free, and even if they were only a hoax, clients would have already paid him up by then. This, in my opinion, is practically what our bees master is up to, promoting his works on TikTok. This just feels like those native African priests who claim they can produce money for clients. They pay money to media houses for advertisement, all to dupe people. In their segments, you would see them performing some rituals and citing some incantations, and then boom, so much money appears on screen from absolutely nowhere. Some even say they conjure the cash through dwarfs and spirits who steal from the banks. Imagine that. It is all camera theatrics and nothing more. Well, at least for our beesmaster, he would be doing a decent job deterring thieves in his community. I personally believe the video was staged, and I have already given my reasons. What do you all also think? Do you even believe that it is possible for someone to control bees, let alone set them off on a crime-solving mission? Would you even consider resorting to this bees master over stolen items if you were a native of that Ugandan community? What do you even think about African voodoo magic in general? Is it real? To provide a little context and insight, growing up as children in African communities, there are so many stories that we were told, both the friendly ones and the scary ones. It is only after the child becomes an adult that they realize the value behind those stories told. African parents and elders believe in inculcating into the young African values through stories. They constantly tell tales about how obedient children are highly rewarded in the end. They use the same approach to deter young ones from engaging in abominable behaviors like theft and deceit by telling them stories that have undesirable endings. And this story about our beesmaster and the purported cow thieves will make a good example of such scary stories to get especially the young African to desist from stealing, because if they did, they would be apprehended and embarrassed. In African countries, attempts to fish out and drive away criminals from societies through the enactment of laws and punishments normally prove fatal. Criminals, and for this matter, thieves, have gotten smarter over the years, but the laws have ironically become rigid, and the process in thief apprehension even slower. You could even see from the video that amongst the folks gathered, there were security officers in their midst. It felt as though this supernatural way of catching thieves was far more effective than the system. Yep, that is the impression. I personally think this whole story about bees could be an effective deterrence tool to significantly reduce crime in that region, because if people genuinely believed all of that to be true, they would have second thoughts before attempting to steal. Perhaps this is basically one of those situations where we are supposed to credit a scheme for what it symbolizes rather than question how real it is. I believe the video was staged, and I have already given my reasons. What do you all also think? Do you even believe that it is possible for someone to control bees, let alone set them off on a crime-solving mission? Would you even consider resorting to this bees master over stolen items if you were a native of that Ugandan community? What do you even think about African voodoo magic in general? Is it real?